Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Commanders, to me, appear to be loading up for that Week 13, fresh off the bye, Sunday Night Football contest versus the Denver Broncos. I told you yesterday that they've officially opened the window for safety Will Harris. They've been talking about how excited they are to get him back. He's had such a great recovery process. He's such a commander inside those, walls of that building, and such a great communicator. And he does so much for this defense. And his loss, was so underrated. Okay, we'll see, right? Okay, cool. Like, let's not turn Will. I've said this many times. Let's not turn Will Harris into Sean Taylor. Okay, but him coming back should help the defense. It won't hurt it, obviously. I mean, it can't get much worse than what it is right now. And we made a mockery, of the whole Drake Jackson signing, right? Like, and it had nothing to do with Drake Jackson. It had everything to do with the fact that we just needed warm bodies at edge rusher, and they went and signed a guy who couldn't play, right? We just needed warm bodies that could actually be fielded, that could actually put on a uniform and participate on game day. That's what we needed a month ago when they signed Drake Jackson, and that's not what we got. So it had nothing to do with Drake Jackson. We are excited to get another guy that is a cast-off, that was a former, day 2 pick. We got Treylon Burks, former first-round pick. This is a former second-round pick in Drake Jackson out of USC, coming off of an injury. And so his window, as you see here, Commanders announced this today. We have opened the 21-day practice window for defensive end Drake Jackson. There are clips right now circulating around on social media of him working out. I think John Kahn posted one on his X feed of Drake Jackson going through individual drills. He's not going to participate in any team activities, hence the limited description of his practice participation, which we'll take a look at a little bit later on. But similar to Will Harris, he's out there in individual drills. He's no longer on the side field. He's now on the actual field with his teammates, which is a step towards getting back on the practice field with his teammates and actually being a part of the squad again. And so I could be wrong, and he could not be ready. Same with Will Harris, could not be ready for the Denver game, right? In my mind, and this is just me, again, trying to draw an inference, we're still technically 2 weeks away, right? Roughly 3 weeks, though, if you count the actual week of practice leading up to the Denver game. But we're technically 2 weeks away from when the Commanders have to play the Denver Broncos. They don't play next Sunday, then they play the following Sunday. But if you're talking about the work week itself, you've got this week, you've got all the next week, then you've got the following week leading up to the Denver game. So technically speaking, it's not 21 days, but you're giving them 3 work weeks worth of practice. I don't know how long they're going to give the players off for this bye week. I would imagine they're going to give the players time off. But I also imagine that some of these guys are going to stay back and continue to work. And I also imagine that, the break might not be as long as it normally is because the team sucks. Who knows? You're actually making a trip to a different continent. You're coming back from that trip. Everybody's going to want to get away from football. They haven't been away from football since July. So I would imagine that next week will be pretty much the players having time to themselves to recalibrate, flush the system and come back ready to get after it. So whatever the case may be, Drake Jackson, and this is why I talk about them kind of loading, arms for bear, right? Drake Jackson could potentially be back week 13. Will Harris could potentially be back week 13. Noah Brown is going to be back. I've had someone tell me that he could have played this week if this was an impactful, meaningful game, like we make the playoffs, if Noah Brown could have played this week. So Noah Brown's going to probably be back Again, assuming that there's no, setback with Noah Brown, which we know at home during the bye week, Noah Brown could find a way to get injured. So assuming that Noah Brown is still a real person, Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, who is now back, we talked about this yesterday, back on the practice field in some capacity, in a limited capacity, similar to Drake Jackson and Will Harris, and Jaden Daniels. All of these guys could be back in week 13 versus the Denver Broncos. Now, I'm not telling you that that's going to make this massive difference. I think what is very important is to take a look at what DQ calling the plays actually means. What does this actually do for the defense? If DQ calling the plays actually makes a difference, then maybe getting a Drake Jackson into the lineup, getting a Will Harris back actually does give them an opportunity to be formidable. Who knows? If DQ calling the defense does nothing, which is what most of us envision him taking over the play calling does with this group that he has at his disposal, then it doesn't matter if Drake Jackson's out there. It's not like Drake Jackson was out there bagging quarterbacks at an elite rate when he was healthy in San Francisco, and he actually had someone like Nick Bosa opposite of him. So the impact may be very minimal, and we still may be getting our backs kicked in with all these guys returning to the lineup. But here's what I think. I'm always trying to look at it from a psychology, standpoint, the psychological standpoint. And for me, the psychology here is they want to prove to everyone, us, the media, the people looking from the outside looking in, that, hey, it really was the injuries. Here's proof. We got guys back, and look at how we looked on a national stage against a good Denver Broncos team. Right? That's what they want to portray to the outward public and the outward perception. To me, this is more about internally inside of their own building. They want all of these players back. One, I've already told you why DQ wants all of these guys back. He's not comfortable with where his situation is, and he doesn't want to find out if he built up enough goodwill last season to go 13 or 3-14 this year and lose 12 straight. He doesn't want to find out. No coach does. All right. But even more so, I think this is a last-ditch effort by this group, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and company, to show that no, we're on the right track. We did it right this past offseason. It was truly the injuries, and we're going to prove it to you. And they need to prove it to themselves that, because right now, DQ is putting on one hell of a front. He's putting on his best facade in front of the media when they ask him about the brotherhood and they ask him about the foundation being shaken. And he's like, no, it's none of that, right? And that's what he's supposed to say. What he's supposed to say, yeah, the foundation's been rocked to its core. We're kind of struggling and searching for answers. We don't even know what a commander is right now. He's not going to say that. But internally, that might be some conversations. And if it's not, it's probably going on in DQ's head, like, what the hell just happened? Maybe we don't have the answers. Maybe we didn't set the proper foundation. Maybe the brotherhood isn't as strong as we thought it was. And again, there aren't any cracks in the actual brotherhood, like, getting along in the locker room, guys fighting for one another, playing hard. We're still seeing that on the field. We're just not good. There's a difference. You know when you see guys quitting. That's not what we're witnessing on a weekly basis. We're not witnessing guys half-assing it and packing it in. We're just seeing guys get their teeth kicked in because they're not good. That's the difference. So I think they want to prove to themselves in that building, no, we're doing the right things. We got it right. We just been injured. So they're trying to convince themselves that, no, we're on the right track. And we're going to prove it to you right now. We're going to prove it to ourselves. We're good. And had we stayed healthy this season, we would have been right where we thought we would have been. We would have been a good team. Like Rico said, that Chargers game still lingers in their mind. They still say to themselves, we can be the team that we were against the Chargers. We just need to get some guys healthy. It's probably a lie at this point. They're probably lying to themselves, but it's better than the truth, which is, oh no, we suck again because of the injuries, right? All I can tell you is don't let them win on Sunday. Don't let them win on Sunday, because then they're going to start talking crazy with that kind of swag and confidence that a lot of you who want a high draft pick don't want to see. Because if they win on Sunday, they go on their bye week feeling good. They come off of that bye and they get Jaden, Terry, Noah, Drake Jackson, and Will Harris back. Look, Denver's a really good team, but we watched Denver play a 10-7 game, right? We watched Denver the week prior to that struggle in a win over an opponent that we thought they were going to absolutely murder. Like, Denver is no, like, legit killer in this league. They're not. So, again, all bets are off if they find a way to win on Sunday, which I don't think is going to happen. So let's just, but they're loading up for that week 13 game. Drake Jackson, 21-day window open. Will Harris, 21-day window open. Terry McLaurin back on the practice field, getting in reps. Jaden Daniels stayed at home, but DQ says he's a fast healer. Noah Brown, been practicing for the last 2 weeks. Never was placed. Well, I think he's eligible. I think he was placed on IR and he's eligible to come off of IR. Either way, we'll see. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I think I'm at the position of, hey, stay healthy, be much more competitive, right? Every week I shouldn't feel embarrassed to be a fan of this team. So stay healthy, stay competitive, but lose. Sadly, I feel like I'm back in 2023 all over again. But I do know this. As much as I don't want Jaden Daniels to play, I do miss seeing him play. And I do miss seeing him be competent. And I do miss having him be on the field with guys that will allow him to be Jaden Daniels. So if you can get back Terry McLaurin, just Terry with Debo, and I'm good. Honestly, you throw in Noah, and that's extra because I don't rely on Noah Brown for anything anymore. Nothing. So if you just give me Terry with Debo and Zach Ertz, I think Jaden will be just fine. I think Jaden will be just fine. So if he's going to play, which it feels imminent, like it feels like that's definitely going to happen, at least he'll have some stuff with him. Maybe the defense might not be as bad by the time Jaden comes back. I highly doubt it. But they're trying. It's not for a lack of trying, that's for sure. They're loading up for week 13 versus Denver on a Sunday night. Drake Jackson, Will Harris, Noah Brown, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels. They're loading up. Let them win on Sunday. Lord have mercy, help us all. All right. Let's go to in other news, where normally today would be Coordinator Thursday, except we only have one coordinator now. I forgot about that for a second because I was like, where's the other interview? Where's the other press conference? Then I said, oh, genius. There is none. What is Joe Witt Jr. going to do? Answer questions about why he's been demoted? Of course not. Duh. So there's just Kliff Kingsbury this week. So we'll talk about what Kliff had to say. But before we do that, let's get to the injury report. Now, I don't have the Dolphins injury report. At the time of this show, they hadn't yet posted their injury report. It's not important. I told you yesterday there weren't any real names on it unless there's some sort of setback or someone incurred an injury that was brand new. No one on that list outside of Rasul Douglas was a needle mover anyway. So it's not really a list that should really overly concern any of us. We'll take a look at it tomorrow, and when we'll get the final injury report for both teams heading into Sunday's contest. But I do have the good guys injury report, so let's start there. As we know, Traylon Burks, Jaden Daniels, and Ale Cajo all out of this game, all did not make the trip to Madrid. Terry McLaurin finally was moved up to the top of the list with the rest of the guys that aren't playing. Again, I don't know why his designation for the game doesn't already say out, because we were already told he isn't playing in this game by Dan Quinn early in the week. So we know he's out as well. But Will Harris, as you can see, limited again. 21-day window has been opened. Drake Jackson now added to the list of guys who have had their 21-day window open. I'm waiting for them to do the same thing to Noah Brown. It would just be such like Noah Brown, right? It would be so Noah Brown, so on brand for Noah Brown to just not be back by week 13. Everybody else has got their window open, and why he isn't on this list as well, don't ask me. I don't know. So Drake Jackson officially now in that window where he can be activated at any time to the 53-man roster. Frankie Louvu limited with the shoulder injury. Quan Martin limited with the shoulder injury as well. Ben Sinnott added to the injury list with an ankle. He was limited today. Chris Rodriguez full with the shoulder, and Bobby Wagner full with the thumb. So one addition to the list here, Ben Sinnott. Outside of that, everything kind of looks status quo here. Again, nothing really to see here because I expect every single guy that can play on this list to play. Frankie Louvu, Quan Martin, Ben Sinnott, and Chris Rodriguez Jr., and Bobby Wagner. I expect all of them to play in this game. So before we get out of here, because we don't have Miami to talk about, let's take a look here at something the team posted today. So this is a tweet from the team earlier today, and it reads, "We've selected at HKS Architects, a global architecture and design firm, as the lead architect for our new stadium at the RFK site." And listed, as you can see in the picture, some of the stadiums that they've worked on in the NFL. You see SoFi, that's the LA stadium for the Chargers and Rams. You see Lucas Oil, that's the stadium for the Indianapolis Colts. You see US Bank, that's the one down in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the stadium for the Minnesota Vikings. So HKS has done some great work in the NFL already. And I think this is a great move by Josh Harris. This reminds me of the BHS commercials back in the day, or I think it was BSF commercials, whatever it was. I just remember those commercials very vividly. And the tagline was, "We don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better." This is what this feels like to me, and I think it's a great move. Like, don't reinvent the wheel. Josh Harris isn't looking to reinvent the wheel here. He's looking just to make the wheel better. Okay, you have a great wheel already. How do I make the wheel better and make it fit to us? So hire someone in the space that has done this before, that knows what it's going to take and knows how to get it done at this level. You don't get much bigger in the United States than an NFL stadium. You know, there's just not many stadiums that house more, that are more important and more impactful to these cities than an NFL stadium. You know, college football stadiums are huge, and a lot of times in certain areas, they're the only, revenue generator, right? But NFL stadiums are multi-purpose, uses. house, concerts and, different events. And, we're trying to get an Olympics here and all of that stuff. So it's a pretty big deal. And you want to make sure that it's done right. And HKS has been there, done that. And I expect nothing but the best for this stadium at the RFK site. So this was some welcome news at a time when nothing seems to be going right for us as fans. So let's get back to in other news, where we heard from Kliff Kingsbury. And Kliff today, I knew it would be brief. Kliff usually keeps it brief, roughly 7 minutes long. He started off his press conference with answering a question about, has DQ taking over the defensive coordinator responsibilities changed his situation? And he was like, not at all. Like, look, Kliff isn't in trouble. Kliff isn't in detention. The offense hasn't been as good as it was last year, but obviously, we've got all the reasons as to why. So even with all the changes to the offense, quarterback position, receiver position, running back position, etc., the offense has been fine. It hasn't been great. They've absolutely left food on the table every single week. There's food on the table. There's food on the floor. There's food left on the plate. But it's not because of a lack of, trying or Kliff putting guys in the best positions to succeed. Although we can question Kliff's, play calls, win the run, I still can't get over the 2nd and 1 sequence against the Chiefs. You get that's a great drive after you just produced a turnover. You have 2 big plays that get you into Chiefs territory. You get a Marcus Mariota 9-yard run or 8-yard run, 2nd and 2. You throw 3 straight passes, 2 behind the line of scrimmage. Well, 1 behind the line of scrimmage that nets you 1 yard or no yards to Debo. A pass to Zach Ertz short of the sticks. He's not getting yards after the catch. And then a 4th and 1 deep ball. I still question that. And we question his commitment to the run every week. But that said, we move the football. We move the football. We just don't finish drives. That's our biggest problem this year. Penalties, drop passes, missed opportunities, et cetera, have doomed us. We're one of the worst 3rd down offenses. That's killed drives. A lot of that has to do with we get penalties on almost every drive. If we don't get a penalty on a drive, usually that drive ends in a chance for us to score. Last week, we got into the red zone 3 times. We scored all 3 times. The problem is we don't get into the red zone enough. When we get into the red zone, a lot of times we score touchdowns. We just don't get there enough. Part of it is we don't have the football enough. We don't have the football enough. The defense isn't getting enough stops. They're not getting stops at all if you look at last week's game. Anyway, so he said, hey, my situation ain't changed nothing. I'm trying to put this offense in the best position to score and take advantage of opportunities. My situation is basically the same. He was then asked, how challenging of a season has it been? And he wouldn't use the word challenging. He said it's been interesting. And that's been his theme all season long. Every time someone said challenging or difficult, he has shied away from that and just said interesting. But it's all the same. And he definitely agreed that, look, man, it's been rough. And he even said it's been rough, or interesting going all the way back to the spring, he said. Once Terry basically started to hold out, he was like, who the hell are we throwing the football to? Because remember, Noah was still working his way back. So Noah wasn't out there. Now Terry was gone, right? Because Terry was there for the first 2 OTAs. Then he left at the very end of the 2nd one and wasn't there for any of the 3rd, which was the most important one. And Kliff's like, okay, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with just Debo? And it started there. And so he's like, yeah, it's been pretty interesting. But, my job is to take whatever pieces I have and try to make the best use of them. And, that's been the interesting part, is trying to find different ways to feature guys, which is tough because you try to start featuring Treylon Burks, and then guess what? Treylon Burks is hurt. You start trying to feature Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey is hurt. Not that they were featuring him, but they were getting the ball to Luke. We ran a double move to Luke. We ran a fake screen go route to Luke, and it worked against the Bears for a touchdown. So you start trying to feature guys, and then they get hurt. Terry comes back. Terry's gone. He then was asked, what has he seen from the offensive line? And I cringed at this whole conversation. We're so down bad right now. They asked him about the O-line, and Kliff's first statement out of his mouth was, it's been the healthiest group all year. And I said, oh, no, Kliff. I turned from smiles to serious. Come on, man. Stall him out, Injury Reaper. Stall him out. Leave him alone, man. They all we got right now, man. Come on, man. Leave us alone, man. Please. So Kliff goes on this diatribe about how they've been the group all season. Now they're at full strength. They're the only group that's been healthy the last 3 weeks with Cosme coming back. And I'm like, Kliff, stop! Stop! Thief! Stop! I'm like, Kliff! Stop! Kliff! And he talked about, Sam getting his feet under him and starting to get back to where he was. Josh Connolly playing really well. I think you could argue that the Detroit game in Week 10 was his best contest of the season. He did have a penalty in the game. I think he had a false start, but outside of that, he was really good. And he talked about, this group starting to really gel with everyone being in the lineup. And look, I haven't had any real complaints about the offensive line except their ability to, knock people back off the ball in the run game, but that's just not who they are. So I don't ask people to do things or be something that they're not. So this is a finesse pass blocking offensive line. And for the most part, they've done that this season. Now, they've had some breakdowns and, protection, with blitzes, and they haven't commuted, but that comes with, fitting in new pieces, right? This is still a work in progress. So I like what I've seen from the offensive line, and so has Kliff. He then was asked about C-Rod and, what he brings to the table. And he said, look, C-Rod is a guy that maximizes his opportunities, maximizes his runs. He's a guy that gets what's blocked, and we just know we can trust him to be where he's supposed to be, do what he's supposed to do. Like, it's one of those situations where I just know I can rely on him to do what is asked. Like, if we tell him, hey, we need you to protect. Hey, we need you to get us 2 yards. Hey, we need you to run this route like this. Well, hey, we need you to stay in, make sure that the offensive line is good. And if they don't need you, get out into the pass route. He's going to do whatever. It's a trust factor. He's like a security blanket for the staff. Like, if the other running backs are effing up, we always know we can go to C-Rod. But he's never going to be the first choice because he's limited athletically. So while he's safe, he doesn't provide you, which is why they keep wanting to go back to Bill, which is what I want to see. But I get it. This was my favorite question of the press conference, and probably a question that I've been wanting people to ask. I would have asked it a different way, but it still kind of generated a similar answer. But I would have been more so pushing towards getting an answer about being under center. But this is as close as I'm probably going to get, so I got to be okay with the question being asked the way that it did, and then the answer that I got. So he was asked, philosophically, you guys are in the pistol and shotgun quite a bit. is there an advantage or is there a reason why you guys tend to veer towards that versus utilizing under center more? And Kliff was, you could tell he was like, I knew this was coming at some point. I thought it would have came a lot sooner. But he pretty much was like, look, shotgun and pistol formation for us is something that we wanted to lean on heavily last year in particular because of Jaden, right? We wanted to make him as comfortable making the transition from college to NFL. And so we really built an offense centered around Jaden's strength and things that he was comfortable with. And so that's, a huge part of why we had a lot of pistol and shotgun. He said, you look around the league, you see a lot of pistol, a lot of shotgun. You also see a lot of teams under center. There's no right or wrong way to conduct offense. It's just what suits you best. And so for us, pistol and shotgun best suits, our quarterback. And so that's what we want to do. And I'm like, I hear you, and that's a beautiful answer. And that's an answer that we lauded and praised last year. I remember saying how proud of I was of the staff last year for spoon feeding Jaden early, then kind of taking the shackles off of him, but making it as easy a transition from college to the NFL as they possibly could. Concepts, the shotgun, things of that nature, so he could see the defense, so he didn't have to turn his back, all that good stuff. I'm now of the mindset that we're now into year 2. Next year we'll be in the year 3 of Jaden. He should now be more comfortable with turning his back to an NFL defense. He should be more comfortable getting under center, getting maybe a little bit out of his comfort zone, right? Now we can take the training wheels off. Gun is cool. That's going to be primarily the basis for our offense. It's the foundation of what we do. But we should be able to run the ball from under center. We should be able to go play action fake from under center. And there's so much more that you can get out of this offense if you put Jaden under center a little bit more. I'm not telling you that we should be under center 40 or 50% of the time. What I'm saying is right now, we're probably under center less than 5% of our offensive snaps. Why can't we make that 15% of our offense where we're under center? Still a small part, but a big enough part where it's something else defenses have to prepare for and a different look that we can give to teams. I would have phrased it that way, but I understand where Kliff is coming from. Then his final question of the press conference was the difficulties with the injuries to the receiver position and how tough has that been as a coordinator. You start to devise plays for certain guys. You start to get into a rhythm with a guy, and then boom, just like that, he's gone. And the name that got brought up in particular was Trey Burks. So Kliff basically said, no, look, man, it's been tough this year, bro. I'm not going to hold you. I mean, every time, we try to get into a rhythm with someone, something happens. It's just the way the season is gone. And he said, Trey Burks, you got excited last week. He made some plays. That's a kid that we really like. And it was really good to see him get out there and make the plays that he did. And now he's gone. But he said, good thing is it's not a significant injury. He'll be back really soon. But next man up, which is what Kliff has basically said all year, next man up. Like, we can't dwell on things that we can't control. All we can do is prepare the next guy up to be ready to try to help this team be successful. And so Robbie Chosen, revenge game. Anybody? Robbie Chosen, the former Miami Dolphin? Revenge game, anyone? Noah Igbenogany, revenge game, anybody? The former first-round pick of the Miami Dolphins? Anybody interested in any of those? Yes? No? Maybe so? No? Not effing with that? All right, cool. So that was Kliff's press conference. we're going to go behind enemy lines here in a second. But before we do that, let's get a word from our sponsor, Sleeper. Come back on the other side, and then we'll go behind enemy lines and talk about the two teams doing battle in this game. Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so we're now going to go behind enemy lines. 2 3-7 teams doing battle. I think this look at the behind enemy lines really gives you a great picture into the ineptitude of these two teams. Like, I don't think you realize just how close these two are in their ineptitude until you see the numbers. I don't know why any of us would be surprised. They're both 3-7 for a reason. Like, the NFL doesn't lie to us. You don't see 3-7 teams that are really good. That doesn't happen in the NFL. You're 3-7 because you stink and you're not good at just about every statistical category. And so both of these teams are almost like mirror images of one another, hence the 3-7 records that they both share. So I just want to reiterate this, and I said this yesterday. You do know the Commanders can win this game, right? I just want to say that again. The Dolphins stink. Tua Tagovailoa stinks. I get that they got talent, and he's the guy that has to get them the football. He's the guy that has to get them the football. Now, Achane is a different animal because all he has to do is turn around and hand it to him. And if we can't tackle him, he can do it all by himself, just like Jahmyr Gibbs can. But he's got to throw it to Jalen Waddle. And you don't even have to get pressure on Tua for him to airmail one to the safety. So Tua throw it off someone's hands. It'll get deflected in the air. Pick. Like, let's keep in mind who we're dealing with here. So Commanders are currently 2.5-point dogs going into this game, as they should be. As they should be. It's a shame that we are damn near 3-point underdogs against a Dolphins team and a neutral site. That speaks to just how bad we've been over the last month. Anyway, I digress. So let's go ahead and take a look at where Washington is. And I want you to take a look at, you know what I'm going to do? For the purposes of this particular video, just so we can see side by side, I think it is important to take a look at these two numbers side by side by each other. So I'm going to pull the Dolphins numbers out so you can see them and put them right next to the Commanders numbers so you can see those. So on the left are the Commanders numbers, on the right are the Dolphins numbers, just so we can compare and contrast, just so you can see just how bad the Dolphins are, just like we are. Again, the Commanders can win this game, guys. For those of you who want to lose, this is a very dangerous opponent, okay? So Washington's total offense, 18th in the league. Dolphins total offense, 25th in the league. They're averaging just a shade under 300. We're averaging over 325 yards a game. Scoring offense, we're 22nd in the league. at over 22 points a game. The Dolphins are 26th in the league at just 21 points per game. So again, another metric and statistic that they're worse than the Commanders at pass offense. The Commanders are 26th in the league at 190 yards per game. The Dolphins are 24th in the league at 192 yards a game. So literally, they're basically the same. The Commanders are just 2 yards shy of where the Dolphins are in pass yards per game. Sacks allowed. The Commanders are tied for 22nd with 26 sacks. The Dolphins are tied for 13th with just 20. So they're significantly better than the Commanders there. And that a large part is largely in part due to the fact that Mike McDaniel does a great job of getting the ball out of Tua's hands quickly. We see how fast the Dolphins offense operates. It's at warp speed, right? The ball snapped, Tua's back foot hits the ground, and that receiver is usually breaking open over the middle of the field and it's out of Tua's hands immediately. If you take away that first read, now shit starts to break down, and that's when Tua can get himself into trouble. But if that first read is open, and usually against this defense, the first read is open, like 7-Eleven, then you don't get sacks against the Dolphins. So find it hard to believe that we'll be sacking Tua Tagovailoa in this game. But, we'll see. Rush offense. We are 7th. Once upon a time, back in the days when we were young, we're not a kid anymore, but some days we sit and wish we were a kid again. Remember back in the days when we were the number 1 rush offense in football? Remember those days? Y'all remember when? Y'all remember when? Y'all remember when? Good times. Now we're 7th at 135 yards per game. The Dolphins are 23rd. Okay, so we're significantly better than them. They're averaging just a shade over 107 yards per game. That could change against this defense. You're one Devin Achane run away from a 75-yard gain, a 67-yard gain, just like we gave up last week to Jahmyr Gibbs. So you don't think the Dolphins know about our edges? You don't think the Dolphins know that they can do what the Lions did last week or the Bears did, last month, or every other team that's had success running the ball against us? Seattle, they're going to attack our edges. So don't really think the rush offense of the Dolphins being worse than ours is going to matter because they have a chance to really run it up on us in this game. Third down offense. We're 19th in the league at 38% on third downs. Meanwhile, the Dolphins are 18th in the league at 38% as well. So just a shade over 38%. So again, do you see how close these two teams are statistically? Like, you understand why they both stink, why they're both 3-7, because they kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways, right? So total defense, this is where there's a big disparity because, as I mentioned to you, we feel like the worst defense in football, even though the Bengals and Cowboys are statistically worse than us. We feel like we're worse than them. We're 30th in the league. Again, Cowboys and Bengals, the only two teams worse than us in total defense at 395 yards a game given up. Dolphins at 24th in the league at 347 yards a game given up. So big disparity there. Both teams stink on defense, though, is the real takeaway there. But there's levels to this shit, right? I don't have to tell you this. There's levels of ineptitude defensively. We're on a different level than the Dolphins. Scoring defense. We're 29th in the league. We give up 28 points a game. Going to be pretty hard to win anything giving up that many points every week. And I'm pretty sure that number has been, really bolstered over the last month with us giving up basically 43 out of the last 4 weeks. Dolphins scoring defense, 24th in the league at 25.6 points a game. So roughly they're giving up 26 points a game. So they're not that far away from us, but 2 points, 2.5 points is a big difference in the NFL. Big difference. Passing defense. We're 31st. Hey, look at that. Almost dead last. Pass yards given up at 260 a game. Only team worse in the league than us is Dallas. Wow. Their pass defense, meanwhile, is 13th in the league because they get pressure on the quarterback. Hey, how about that? Yeah. So despite having one of the worst secondaries in the league going into the season, the Dolphins are only giving up 207 yards through the air. That's good for 13th in the league. So a massive disparity between the pass yards given up by the two teams, which is why you should be afraid if you want to win this game and why you should be joyous if you don't want to win this game, because the Dolphins should be able to do what everyone else has been able to do against us, and that's throw the football and have tremendous success doing it. Sacks, tied for 13th. We're still living off of the Dorrance Armstrong days. Back in the days when we were young, we're not a kid anymore, but some days we sit and wish we were a kid again. Remember those days when Dorrance Armstrong was tied for third in the league in sacks? Remember the day when Dorrance Armstrong was tied for first after 4 weeks in the league with sacks? Those were good days. Those were the days. Dolphins tied for 21st with 20 sacks. So they're not that far behind us. They've traded away one of their best edge rushers to the Philadelphia Eagles. And they've dealt with some injuries at the position, but they're better than us at edge rusher. Rush defense, 23rd in the league for the Commanders, giving up 134 yards per game. Rush defense for the Dolphins is 26th, giving up 140 yards per game. So not that big of a discrepancy, just a difference in about 6 yards roughly. Both stink at stopping the run, basically. Third down defense. Commanders are 25th in the league, giving up third downs at a 42% clip. Dolphins are 23rd in the NFL, giving up third downs at a 41.5% clip. So both teams are below league average in terms of their ability to get off the field on third downs. League average is right around 39%. Both teams are slightly above that. Translation, both teams stink on third down. So both teams are very modest, middle of the pack, third down offense-wise. Both teams stink third down defense-wise. So maybe, just maybe one of these teams, maybe both of them, will have success on third downs, or maybe their third down defenses will be bolstered by bad third down offense. Who knows? We'll see. Time of possession, another indicator of how bad you are in this league a lot of times. Commanders 28th in the league at 28 minutes, 17 seconds. Look where the Dolphins are. Didn't you know? 27th in the league at 28 minutes, 24 seconds. So just 7 more seconds they possess the football. Both of these teams stink, man. Both of these, they're splitting images of one another. You don't believe me? Look at the next one. Turnover differential. This is a huge stat that usually goes a long way in determining whether you're good or not. Now, we've seen really good teams not produce turnovers and turn it over, but they're able to overcome it because of some dynamic side of the football, whether it's offense, defense, or both, right? That's not the case for either one of these teams. They fit into the category of if you turn it over, you're going to lose the game. Commanders are -6 in the turnover differential category, which puts them tied for 28th in the league. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins are tied for 29th in the league at -7. You see that? I'm literally trying to convey to you that while we are really, really ass, as someone just very eloquently put in the comment section, so are the Miami Dolphins. Hence, we have a chance to win whether you want to or not. Will it happen? Probably not. Probably not. But as I've said many a times today, a bunch of times yesterday, this team has a realistic shot at winning on Sunday in Madrid versus the Miami Dolphins. So there you have it, behind enemy lines. So let's get to the comment section very quickly, and we will then get out of here. So, Loser, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Loser writes, can't wait for the fake playoff push like 2021 and 2022 just to end up missing the playoffs and having a mediocre draft spot, 6-11, 7-10 record. Loser, I don't know if there will be a fake playoff push attached to this 6-11, 7-10 record. I don't feel that in my bones. I don't feel like there's like a get hot scenario where we win 3 or 4 straight and then all of a sudden we're in the hunt category, right? I don't foresee that happening. However, I do see us ending up with one of those 2 records, 5-12 as well. Like if you gave me a percentage pie, I would tell you that 5-12 feels most realistic, followed by 6-11 and then 7-10. It'd probably be like 72% 5-12, 20% at 6-10, 6-11, excuse me, and then 8% at 7-10. That's probably how that would look for me. But I don't. You're not wrong. Like, they're going to win some games here. Like, we know good and well this team isn't going to just allow. Like, I'm a big believer in productive losses in a lost season. Like, if you're gonna lose, have it be productive. Same thing with winning in a lost season. Everything needs to be productive. And like, it doesn't do us any good to beat Miami or Denver or Minnesota. If you're gonna beat somebody, beat the Giants. I need them to know it doesn't matter what our situation is. We own you now. You peasant. Stay in your place, right? Like, that's a productive win. If the Eagles are playing meaningful games, I'd love anything in the division. I'd love to see us win, right? That's just the fan in me. But I also understand what a win over the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles could do to our draft standing. And if you're telling me we have a chance to get an elite prospect that can change the fortunes of our defense versus beating the Eagles, Giants, and or Cowboys in a lost season, give me the elite prospect. I can deal with the ridicule and the jokes and all of the crazy, shit that'll come our way that's we've already endured anyway. I can deal with more of that this offseason if you tell me that there's an elite college prospect attached to it. Sure. What I can't stomach, though, is more losses, and then you tell me we're going to get a mediocre pick and we're going to get a solid draft prospect, but nothing earth-shattering, right? We're going to get another Quan Martin on this roster. Yeah. I'm good on that shit, man. Miss me with that. I want something elite. So there's a price that comes with that. One that this organization isn't willing to pay. So, Loser, you already know the drill. You know the routine. You know what's going to happen here. You just got to buckle up and get ready for that ride. Random Call. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Random Call writes, why don't you think we run more 12 and 13 personnel? McVay and Kubiak seem to be punishing teams, and we have the depth to do it. Just a random thought. Because that's not our identity. Like I said, in order to run 12 and 13 personnel, you got to have a dog-ass offensive line and guys that can reestablish the line of scrimmage, that can put people's dick in the dirt. As good as Laramie Tunsil is as a pass protector, he's not a great run block. He's not like there's levels to this shit. He's not Trent Williams. Like, he's not taking a dude and putting his dick in the dirt. You just ain't touching the quarterback. That's all. And that's cool. We know what he is, right? Like, we don't have a lot of those dudes. Like, Josh Connolly ain't putting nobody's dick in the dirt in the run game. He's just not. Neither is Tyler Biotish. They'll protect the hell out of your quarterback, though. But they're not. That's not what they do. So, again, it's about putting your guys in the best positions to succeed. I don't think you have to be a dominant offensive line to run 12 and 13 personnel, because you can do so much out of that. And I'm with you, by the way. I don't, but see, there's a way to do it. You're talking about two teams that get under center in Seattle and Los Angeles Rams. We don't get under center. I don't want to run 12 and 13 personnel from the gun. There's nothing appealing about that. I want to do it under center because there's so much you can do off of that. So I just think that from a personnel standpoint, from our offensive line, they don't want to do it. And I don't think Kliff is comfortable doing it consistently. I don't think. He can do it every now and again, which is all I'm asking for. He can do it every now and again, like we did last year. We did it every now. Usually it was only on fourth down when we were trying to run those nakeds with Jaden, which I hated, by the way. But we did the same thing against Seattle on the fourth down, and we got it to John Bates wide open. Like, I want to see more of that, because there's opportunities for Ben Sinnott and other guys to touch the football, Kostin Yankov to touch the football. We carved out a niche in those jumbo packages last year for Trent Scott. Why can't we do that again? I'm with you, random call. Ziggy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Ziggy. Timothy Swindell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Timothy writes, as crazy and unlikely an eventuality, Lou, how would you feel if we won out, snuck into the wild card, and then got our teeth kicked in? No thanks, LOL. Oh, I would love it. As much as I would hate the outcome of the season in terms of the way it ended, if you gave me a sheet of paper right now that guaranteed me what you just said, made it to the playoffs, snuck in as a wild card, went to Seattle and got the brakes beat off of us, where do I sign? Give it to me right now. Because you would have, in fact, done the thing that I said you couldn't do. And then DQ would have done a miracle. And at that point, there's no question in DQ for the next 3-4 years. It would be the equivalent of like winning a Super Bowl with the way this team has looked over the last 4 weeks. If you were to tell me somehow they were able to rally, beat the Eagles twice, beat the Cowboys, beat the Giants, beat the Vikings, beat the Broncos, beat the Dolphins, DQ should be in the running for head coach of the year if that happened. With this group? Are you kidding me? That means Jaden Daniels played in the playoffs each of his first 2 seasons? Yeah, sign me up for that. Yeah, sign me up for that. Where do I sign? What you're trying to build here is a consistent winner. And if you were able to win 7 straight, right? Get to 10-7, double-digit wins second consecutive year. This time after starting 3-7 with all the injuries, you still overcome that and make it to the playoffs? What? Yeah, I would definitely be on board for that. But again, we live in reality. We're not living in fantasy world anymore. I'm not high off of hopium anymore. So those types of thoughts don't even enter my brain anymore. Okay. That was the hopium Louie T from, 2 weeks ago with Seattle. That guy's gone. I came down off that high. I went through withdrawals throughout the course of that next week. And then by Thursday, Friday of the Lions game, I was good. My reality had kicked in. So that's not happening. But hey, Timothy, if you have that contract present, fax me a copy. I will sign that thing in a heartbeat. I will sign that thing in a heartbeat. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Reedy Davis writes, LT, so what are we saying 2 sorry teams playing each other, so someone got to win Go Commanders fans since 79. That's right. Someone's got to win. Someone's got to win. And I'm looking at the team that's won 2 out of their last 3 and just beat a team that we look at as one of the better teams in football, in the Buffalo Bills, and didn't just beat them, destroyed them. That same Falcons team that we couldn't beat, now granted, they didn't have their starting quarterback or Drake London in the game, but that same Falcons team that we couldn't beat, they beat the brakes off of. Again, context matters. I'm just looking at the way they're playing football right now versus the way we're playing football right now. And for me to just take this crazy leap and say, well, magically, we're going to flip the switch because DQ is calling the defensive plays and we're not going to get our brains bashed in defensively this week. Ding! I wish I could, Reedy, but I can't. But as I just showed you, going behind enemy lines, they're just as bad as we are. And so anything, renegade, or in this case, win a game, could happen. That actually was really good. You don't know what's going to happen. Win a game. Never know what could happen. Anything. Win a game. They could win a game. Someone's got to win it. Why not us, huh, Reedy? That's what you're thinking. Why not us? Why not us? Reedy Davis. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? We'll be there Sunday cheering like we're 11-0. Are you actually in Madrid? Is that what you're telling me? Or are you saying you'll be watching the game cheering like we're 11-0? Either way, you cheer till your heart is content, Reedy. You do that. Look, I am deep down inside, there is a part of me that is cheering for this team to win every week because it's really not in my nature. It's really not in my DNA to want this team to lose. That's hard for me to stomach, to fathom. Like, losing sucks. And as a fan, a piece of me dies every time. It regenerates, but it dies every time we lose. So I would prefer to just not lose. But hey, sometimes you got to take steps backwards in order to go forward. And if losing is what we have to do to get us a player that's going to help change the fortunes of this team, I've been screaming for the longest time. Everybody in the division has one of those freaky athletes that you just have to game plan for every single week. We're the only one that doesn't. Even with trading away Michael Parsons, which was the stupidest thing ever Dallas did, they still have DeMarvion Overshown when he comes back. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to look the way that he looked before the injury, but that dude was a problem. That dude was a problem. And if he comes back healthy, he can go back to being a problem. They just traded for Quinnen Williams. I'm not telling you he's elite, but he's a damn good defensive tackle. They got Kenny Clark. That defensive line with Ozio Digazua and, we've seen Donovan Azaraku continuing to get better in his rookie season. Like, that defense has potential to be problematic when they get all those pieces back and they figure it out. We know what the Eagles have. Jalen Carter is a game wrecker when he's right. And at some point, if they can figure out what he is, and maybe this is who he is, Jahad Campbell could be a problem. He's got the ability to rush the quarterback, although they're not using him in that capacity right now. But he's another one of those guys that can just move around the football field with ease. Jalix Hunt is turning into a problem and a guy that can get to the quarterback, it feels like, at will. So they've got some guys, but Carter is the one every week you're like, hey, he can wreck the game. Right there. That guy right there is a problem. And then, the Giants have Brian Burns. Like, Abdul Carter doesn't scare me right now. Maybe he will eventually, but he's got the potential to do it. But Brian Burns is the one where you go, God damn it, can somebody block this guy. We don't have anybody like that. What I wouldn't give to get someone like that. It's the reason why I wanted Harold Landry last offseason. It's the reason why I wanted Jonathan Grenard 2 off seasons ago. It's the reason why every year I'm lusting over these edge rushers, wanting one to be in Washington so desperately, because we don't have shit that strikes fear into your heart. Even when Dorrance was getting busy, no one's like, hey. That 92, we got to know where he is at all times. Didn't nobody give a shit about Dorrance. He was solid for us, but he wasn't striking fear in nobody's heart. If you want one of those guys, you're probably going to have to lose some games. I'm with it. I hate it, but I'm with it. But I get it if you're going to sit in front of the TV and you want to win. Because deep down inside, somewhere in there, there's a Louie T screaming, "Go Commanders, go! You can do it." So I get it. Be right. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Be right writes, "I'll tank for Ruben Bain Jr., defensive end, Miami." Have no idea who you're talking about. I'll take your word for it that Ruben Bain Jr. is really good. We could use one of those types of guys. I'm hearing this Arvell something from Ohio State. Cool. Like one of those guys would be great. Yeah. Reedy Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Reedy writes, "Just watching at home. Me, cool. You should join us on Sunday morning. Commanders Kings. Or not. It might not be for you. But hey, we'll be in there having a good old time watching this team on Sunday morning. You should join us. Anybody that is out there that just looking for somewhere to watch the game together with other people, here's an opportunity to do it. We are going to be live. The Commanders Kings will be live on the Commanders Kings channel on Sunday morning. We're going to start a little earlier to kind of give you pregame to get you all caught up on what's going on with the team, inactives, et cetera, kind of set the table. But we will be there live for the duration of this game. Ed will join us in the second half. So Rico, Rio, and myself will be live to start. Ed will join us in the second half, and we will be made whole in the second half. And maybe we'll be talking about a Commanders win. Who knows? I know most people don't want it, but deep down inside, I think a lot of people do. They just they don't want to admit it because of what it would mean. If you have to choose between winning and a potential high draft pick, you're going to choose the high draft pick because this season's going nowhere. But anyway, I digress. Look forward to chopping up with you guys then. Hopefully you'll join us on Sunday morning. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys later on tonight. I'm going to tell you right now, tonight's one of those depressive nights. Remember I told you the Commanders stages of grief? I've added 2 stages of grief too. So the next time we talk about Commanders stages of grief, remind me to give you the other 2. So when I make lists, I like them to be of 7, right? So I had to stretch it out to 7. I think this list is really good, but I'm going to hit depression tonight. I know I am. Tonight's one of those nights. You know why? Because I'm going to watch Drake May on national television, and they're literally doing what we did last year, except they're better. I don't think they're making it to the AFC Championship game, but they're better than what we were last year. Why? Because they actually have a defense. And I'm going to be watching this game tonight, and I know what my mind is going to do. I'm going to want that old thing back. I'm going to be reminiscent of last year and just thinking about how the hell this season went off the rails. And I'm also going to be taking inventory, and I'm going to be thinking to myself, look at Drake May, all happy, snuggled in his middle-class home with his 2 parents in a 2-parent household. What a great life he's got. Then I'm going to be looking at Jaden looking out of the window as he stands inside of his foster home. No defense, no skill players around him, injured. Thinking to myself, this is some bullshit. And I already know where my brain's going to go. Drake May, stable organization. Not that our shit is unstable, but his shit is stable. Really good head coach. Built up a defense around him. Solid ground game. Probably could do more from a pass catcher standpoint around him, but plenty of enough stuff to get the job done. Meanwhile, we got Jaden over here standing in the foster home, waiting for someone to adopt him. This shit sickens me. It does. So, yeah. Tonight's going to be one of those depressive nights as Drake May. I'm talking about they are going to absolutely glaze Drake May tonight. And it's well-deserved. He's played really well this season. And I already can see it. The 2 times Jaden has been on Thursday night, he sucked ass. And Drake May is going to go up there and he's going to kill it against this Jets defense. He's going to look all world in their new alternate uniforms, their nor'easters. And I'm just going to be sitting there thinking, that should be us. So, you know where my head is. I'll be depressed tonight. I'll snap out of it eventually, but tonight's one of those nights. It's going to be a pretty depressive night for your man, Louie T. Anyway, I'm looking at the stuff that I wanted out there running around. The stuff that they were willing to pay that we weren't. I wanted Harold Landry, but they were willing to pay. We weren't. Christian Gonzalez should be here in Washington, but he's not. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. Peace.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 30.